Boy, that stuff is pretty good. I mean, it's just like the Amish grapes where you put them in your mouth and squeeze them and just drink the chews.
Whatever. Well,
that was from the Amish dude on the Theo Von podcast.
Now say it again. You probably saw it. There was this Amish
kid with a YouTube, with a Instagram or a TikTok channel that was on the Theo Von podcast.
Yeah, and he had a very
Dutch
accent.
A Dutch Minnesota accent. I don't know where he's from, but
yeah, it was pretty funny. He sounded very Dutchy, did he not?
Yeah, he did. He sounded. I think he's a Schwarzenegger Amish kid. He's in the Rumspringa stage, and Rumspringa was a term in where I grew up. That was when you had joined the youth group.
Yeah, I know.
Today, with the movies and everything out there,
it's kind of distorted.
It's distorted. They think that when you're in Rumspringa, that's your license to go and just live like an animal.
Live wild. But that's not really what it meant when I was growing up. And I grew up Amish. Rumspringa would mean you just joined the youth. But a lot of the Amish kids, not all of them, they that's when they sow their wild oats. And hun, that's kind of when you sowed your wild oats, right? Wild oats. Didn't you have a radio that you snuck away somewhere?
Yep, it was stashed up in the granary.
You would listen.
That was the 90s country music.
Yeah, you were a naughty boy.
That was a big thing back then.
You had
listening to music.
Mm-hmm. And your mom and dad never knew about it, did they?
No, not until a few years later. The typical thing, as the preachers would say, starts out with a little sin and we're so careful, but then we get bolder and bolder. I would have never thought about taking my little radio into the house, but, a number of years into it, listening to, having the radio stashed away, I got bolder and I wanted to listen to it at night when I went to sleep. And hiding it was a challenge. I knew I couldn't get caught. Well, I read enough books about hidden compartments and stuff, and I found a little piece of trim in my closet that was about this wide. And I carefully removed that piece of trim, and I modified it. I think I took it out in the shops one day, and I cut a groove into it. Pretty tall groove anyway. Let's say that this was the piece of trim and it was wide. I installed like a little, this is kind of exaggerated, but I installed something like this on the floor. Let's say it's maybe 1 inch tall, and I cut a groove into that trim board. This is the trim board, so it would go in like that. So I could remove it and stick it in there.
Well, how big was your radio? Not very big, right?
Smaller than this.
Was a tiny little radio.
Well, it was smaller than that, but thicker. So, about that size with the headphones. We didn't have wireless back in those days.
Yeah.
It was just whatever we get our hands on. And this particular radio, now these are measures that I took not to get caught. We had nothing in our household that took AAA batteries.
Yeah, and for some of you who may not realize, Marvin and I both grew up in the old order Amish. So we were not allowed to have radios or
absolutely
things like that.
Not. Nope. That was strictly forbidden.
So did you ever get caught?
So anyway, I knew that I didn't want to take the chance of having AAA batteries in our house. Like, what do you have that takes a AAA battery? We had nothing that took AAA batteries. So I took the little radio apart, and I brought the wires out, and I made myself a little box, wired it in, fastened it onto the back, that the radio then ran off of 2 AA batteries instead of AAA batteries.
You rewired the radio.
Yeah, I just made it so it would take AA's instead of AAA's. And I had a lot more volume, and I could pull in radio stations that none of my buddies could. I mean, it somehow did something that it boosted the signal or the reception. But then one day, I was out in the barn. I think I was cleaning out one of the freshening pen stalls, which in later years, when I was able to drive the tractor, we had tractors where in a particular farm, instead of cleaning out the pen, wheeling it out with a wheelbarrow into the barnyard, I would get the tractor and the manure spreader and back it up right against the barn. And by that time I was, big enough and strong enough, I could throw the manure out the window onto the spreader. Saved me a lot of work. I was out there just to going for it, and I look and I see that my sisters are deep cleaning my bedroom. And because the windows were open and you could tell which room they were doing it, and it was like too late. Anyway, they found it, yeah.
And what did your mom do?
I can't remember what happened.
Did they take it away?
Oh yeah, it was gone.
It was gone.
Never to be seen again. Well, it's not that late, but boy, the days are getting short.
It feels late. It's dark outside, but it's barely past 7. And
as some of you might know, we have been having a little bit of a dilemma with the paint on our barn.
Yeah, we had a purple barn or pink barn.
I did a job for a customer, a spray foam job, and they had this old building in the back where they salvaged it. It's a people that bought an old homestead, they're refurbishing it. And this building caught my eye because they had, the siding looked like it was old and red, but in good condition. I walked up to it and I realized it was brand new board and batten that they had put on, and they had painted it like a dark red, like a burgundy, almost an antique looking. So I was like, that would be a really nice color for the barn. So that's what we were after.
Yeah, did you not think of asking them the color?
I didn't want to bother them.
Oh, okay.
I thought of it later, not. But anyway, we went to Ace, picked out a color of paint. When I was at the checkout counter, I was like, this doesn't look like the sample color. So I went back to the paint counter, and they stuck their finger in there, took a little dab, dried it out, and it was the same color as the sample. We painted it the other day, and it is just this pinkish purple. I wouldn't call it pink. It has a purple base.
When you just got done painting it, it had this bright pinkish purple look to it, and
right.
It hadn't dried yet. So to me, I just remember looking at it and thinking, wow, that looks bright pink, yeah, with the purple tones to it. But as it dried, it did look a lot better.
But it's still too bright. It's brighter than what we want.
Yeah. So today we actually went to Ace Hardware just to look at some more colors, and we did find a color that has a little bit more of a brown in it.
Like more of an antique, almost a rusty color to it. So we went out there, painted a couple spots, let it dry. Think about that before we go and buy another 10 gallons of paint.
Yeah, and I thought it did look slightly orange, but
it has this rustic, just kind of an undertone of a little bit more rust color than what I would like.
Yeah. And we love reading all your comments. One thing, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. So many things that I really think are beautiful and great, Marvin doesn't think so, and vice versa. And I read all your comments and I think, wow, everyone has a different opinion on what is nice and what isn't nice. And we love reading your comments. It was great. And Garrett McGrill 66, you said, kind of looks pink, doesn't it? But the dried boards look like a dark candy apple red. Nice. Hopefully it just needed drying time like Marvin suggested. We know painting time is fleeting, crunching it as we are painting our red 120 by 60 dairy barn to white. That's great. So thankful.
Yeah, that's right. The areas that dried slower that were lighter colored are the plywood, and the ones that are dark, the candy apple color, that is the battens that are real wood. They absorb the moisture and dry it a lot quicker.
Yeah.
So everything is the darker color. It's still brighter.
Yeah.
Like it's louder, like up in your face.
Yeah. And
color.
and
Not what we had been looking for.
yeah, and with our shop being so such a calm, brown, black, and then the bright red barn right beside it, it just doesn't seem to fit quite right.
Right.
And Christine Schwartz, you said, looks like it's gonna be red after it's dried. It won't look bad.
Too bad.
It won't look too bad, yeah.
We're in the stage right now where it's very easy to repaint it. I have a sprayer. The window trim is not painted. I can spray it very, very quickly.
Yeah.
If I get all the windows painted, then I'm going to have a lot of masking involved if I decide to repaint it. So it's a lot easier to paint it now versus later.
Yeah.
I did spend most of the day yesterday building 6 window frames. They're not a double. They're like a single hung picture window. But I really like the grid, so the old style windows. So I built those yesterday. Kind of went the extra mile, planed them all down so everything is uniform. Gave them 2 coats of paint. A fair amount of work doing that, plus painting the barn. I went out at the shop at 6 yesterday morning, and it was 8 o'clock last night when I got the first layer of paint on the windows. So
Yeah.
maybe tomorrow I can get the glass ordered for those. And they're just going to be a simple basic, keep the weather out, and then I'll make so that we can just open them a little bit to let air in for ventilation, because chickens do need ventilation.
Yeah. And you also built the door, which
yeah.
I think is really beautiful. We did not get any footage of that, but I do have some footage of Marvin making the windows. So make sure to watch all the way to the end of this video, and I'll try and post some of that footage at the end of this video.
I do have 2 more smaller doors to build for like the hayloft opening in the front. I'm going to build, instead of one just big opening door, I'm going to build 2 smaller ones, so it's like the old style that they swing out.
Beautiful. I love that. And we are probably going to store our hay up there, and it's going to be really beautiful. I'm already thinking of having Marvin make a huge Christmas wreath and put it on the barn. That's beautiful. And maybe put some white lights around, or
that would
Christmas
be a nice
lights.
one.
Yeah.
So we have a fair amount of footage on making the windows. I recorded putting the primer on and the first layer of paint, so you'll probably get to see me paint that thing a few times.
Yeah, and like I said, I'll try to post some of that footage at the end of this video.
Yeah, getting a few of the candy apple red, which it is, and kind of a bright red. It's kind of hard to get away from the first impression of you when you see that bright color. We had hoped to have something even darker than this. Really, really close to this. The other option would be to paint it like a weathered gray look.
Yeah, that would have been nice too. A weathered gray.
Like the primer looked better than it does now, in my opinion, but that's just me.
Yeah, the primer that you had on there was a little too much blue.
There's no blue in it.
Well, it looked kind of blue to me. So, and I didn't like that. So I would prefer a burgundy, a darker red, and a lot of people have white trim on a barn, but I think we'll have the black trim.
We are planning on black trim. I've seen what I have: a black roof, white sides, and white red. Black roof, red sides, and white trim. I've seen that. It looks good. We're gonna try the black trim just for something a little bit different. If we don't like it, we can always go and repaint it.
Yes. So that's the update on our barn. We are so thankful for all of our subscribers. If you're new here, welcome.
We do read the comments. We just don't get the time to
respond to all of them, because nowadays there are often quite a lot, which I'd love to be able to respond to everyone's, but sometimes it's just more than what we can get to.
Starting to make me think I'm back in the cabinet shop. I've got half a dozen windows framed up here. It's kind of a long project. Spent a lot of a good part of the day doing this and painting our pink barn. But I've got an issue right here, like I explained before. When you chamfer these out, you've got a rounded corner. You got to come up and show this. And we're going to be putting a square piece of glass in here. So I've got this piece of cardboard, and we're going to square this out on all four corners. Mark the other side. All right, and we've got this little bit right here on the router. I've got it set to the correct depth. Go in here and just work this out until we've got it worked out enough that a square piece of glass will fit in there. I came out here around 6 o'clock this morning. It's about 7 at night. I did have to run and look at a project today concerning work. But I changed the sprayer paint. I have paint on my hands. I went out and painted a little bit of black. I've been just working. Those of you who will notice my dirty hands instead of this, I'm going to scrub them very well tonight. Anyway, this is going to be painted black. Should we go out and put it in and just so we can see what it's going to look like? It's just going to be a single pane of glass. And I might build them so they on a rope or something, or a hinge that they swing in like this just for ventilation, or this way. Not sure, but it's just a barn, basic functioning. But I really like the grid look in a horse barn or a barn. It gives it the old antique look. So that's what it is. I did come out with the roller, hence the dirty black hands, and I painted that window frame, kind of faked the corner. Sometimes you look at these little colors samples at the hardware store or the paint shop, and you think, yeah, that would look good, but it doesn't. It's kind of hard when you have a little 2x3 color sample versus then you see it up on the whole building. So the goal for the paint color was to have an antique red that looked old, like it almost needed to be painted again. This is just a little bit up in your face for what I had thought. We're going to look at it. We have about 3 days of cold, rainy weather coming. There's about 2 days next week that there's a possibility it might be warm enough, and there's a possibility we may just go get a different color of paint, a different shade, and maybe we should go get a couple of small color samples, or we could just paint a splotch on it. Look at it that way. I don't know. But so far, it is coming along. It's always this part of the year. Winter's coming on. I look forward to having, you know, when we get all our firewood in the spring, we're not putting up buildings trying to beat winter, where we can kind of work ahead, and then in the fall just sit around and drink coffee and go hunting. We're here at the hardware store again, checking out colors. This one right here is what the barn is. It looks okay in here, but on the barn it doesn't. So we're trying to figure out which one we actually want.
That's what I did.
This? It does look different in the light. What about this one?
So the other one didn't have flex. So I don't know what. Well, guys, the saga of our pink barn still continues. We went back to Ace Hardware to see if we could find a color that is a little bit more on the darker, more brownish color. This, the longer it has dried, the more it looks kind of more purple. But so Marvin's going to try some paint we got at the hardware store today to see if perhaps we could get it a little bit more darker rather than the kind of reddish pink. We've been having rain today, lots of rain, so everything is just wet.
Looks about the same color now, doesn't it?
So we tried to find something a little bit darker.
We're going to give this a couple hours of drying time. Unfortunately, I painted it right in line with that tree. So this is the only spot that's shaded on the front side of the barn here. Hopefully that'll dry. This is the color it's supposed to be. Kind of a dark red, almost a faded off look. Looks like it about could use another coat of paint. That's kind of the look I'm after. Do another spot here where the sun hits it. That's pretty close to the color. I don't know, it looks pretty good up close though.
Yeah, it does.